Have you ever thought about writing your own book? Do you think you can't do it if you're working a full time job? Do you wonder what it would feel like to actually write a book? Welcome to Church Chats. My name is Timothy Rose, and I'm the minister at St. John's Preparatory. Today we have Rev Glynn Cardy with us to talk about his writing and publishing his first book. Hi, Glynn. It's so good to have you with us. I appreciate you taking the time just to chat with us. And let me just begin by asking, what is your role at St. Luke's Remuera, and how long have you been there?
Hi, Timothy. Thanks for inviting me along, and hi to the folks at St. John's and others who are listening. I'm the minister. We only have one paid minister, and that's me at St. Luke's in Remuera, and I've been there 8 and a bit years now.
Oh, excellent. Have you always been a minister within the Presbyterian Church?
No, I came over the fence from the Anglicans. In
Oh,
fact, I heard a call in my life to ministry when I was 15, and I was selected when I was 18, I think. I mean,
oh,
this is
really?
back in the days when churches did that, and then I was ordained pretty much as soon as you could be, about 24, 25 aged by the time I finished my training and done other bits and pieces. And so I was a minister with, and still am a licensed priest in the Diocese of Auckland. But hey, I'm a Presbyterian minister now. I've jumped the Tweed River into Scotland. It's not until you're out of it you realize how English Anglicanism is and how Scottish Presbyterianism is.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's funny. Oh, I can appreciate that. As you were aware, I had to jump the fence over as well. So it's an interesting journey. But I asked that because the reason I wanted to talk to you is because you have recently written a book. And I just find that fascinating. A minister with all the work of ministry and all of the cares and all of the meetings, especially as Presbyterian, all those meetings. How in the world do you find time to write a book?
Well, it's kind of, in fact, one of the great blessings of being a Presbyterian minister is being able to write liturgy rather than having it prescribed for you. And sure, I try to bend the rules a bit in Anglicanism, but pretty much you're with set formulas. But every Sunday, as you know, ministers write prayers. We write blessings. And so, bit by bit, I got into this. Then I'd put them up on Facebook to share them, and people really responded well. And after a while, people said, "Well, why don't you publish these?" And so when I kind of had 70 together, I thought 70 good biblical number. Again, I didn't send them to a whole lot of publishers. Some friends in Australia said, "Hey, these folks at Coventry Press down in Melbourne, they're a good bunch. Why don't you send your manuscript down there?" So I sent it off to them and worked with a guy called Hugh, who was my editor, and voila, one book. So, but it wasn't like I sat down and wrote. In fact, most of them are kind of, the more I write prayers, the more kind of poetic they get. And it's how a prayer sounds. It's not just what it says, but how it sounds and the rhythm of it, and people, appreciate and then can enter into it. That's not saying that an extemporary prayer that somebody makes up on the spot is invalid or anything like that. Like heaps of that stuff goes on. But when you're writing for a liturgy that's being published, and yeah, St. Luke's is quite a high Presbyterian church. We have a written liturgy published every week, and nearly everything except the prayers of the people, the intercessory prayers, are pretty much on that. Okay. And so, so people look at the sheet and, hey, there's the prayers and there's responses where people respond to things. And
yeah. Oh, neat. So, you've been in the ministry all your life then, yeah. Pretty much all your adult life. This is what you've been doing. And along the way, if I'm understanding right, you're writing prayers and writing liturgies and different things. And so what inspired you to collect those as one group and
I've really
present them?
Just encouragement from others.
From others.
Yeah.
That's really neat. And the title of the book is A Book of Blessings.
Yeah.
So what's the significance of that title?
Well, Hugh and I battle it back and forth, as you do with your editor. And It's when you publish a book through not self-published, but through a company like Coventry, it's their call. You have a say in the matter, but it's their call.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at different words, phrases from different blessings or poems in the book. But in the end, we went with the simple. Let's just call it what it is.
Yes.
It's a book of blessings. And so we just went simple.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. And well, did you have anybody in mind when you published your book? You made the decision to publish it. Who were you targeting?
Well, I wanted blessings. And part of my motivation writing them is for people who aren't particularly churched. I didn't want them filled with religious language that, I've grown up on, you've probably grown up on. And so I've deliberately, and you got to think, what is a blessing? And the other day I saw on my shelf my old Living Bible from youth group days, with highlighted verses and all that. And I from memory, if my memory serves me right, when you come to the Beatitudes in that book, it says, "Happy are those who da-da-da." So they interpret blessed as happy are those, and or you might say, and happiness in a biblical sense is almost like a peace, a deep peace, a contentment, a oneness with God. And so, so the kind of, it's kind of like talking about that sort of contentment, wishing that for other people, wishing that contentment, that happiness, that deep peace. And part of writing it is really just noticing. It's the spiritual discipline of gratitude, noticing the things we're grateful for. Like, I've written one about socks, and and just sort of starting off with socks.
That's cool.
Yeah,
you can read one from us. That'd be great.
I just refer a bit in it. I find the socky one. I found a great graphic go with it, but yeah, it's it just starts off simple. Blessed be socks, woven woolen warm, bit of alliteration, wrapping our needy feet. And then and it goes through, just when we're cold, when our toes are a bit fragile, when colored and variegated, and just finishes with blessed be socks, may we learn to value what we wear for granted. Bit of a play there in words in the end, but just a simple thing in life like socks.
That is so good.
Yeah, and
I appreciate that.
Great, saying, following God is like wearing a sock or something dumb like that. It's just simply, hey, it's great to have socks,
Yeah. Well,
there's other ones like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of answers my next question because now I couldn't get a hold of the copy of the book I wanted to in time. And they're kind of hard to get a hold of before Christmas. Some of that, I guess, is locked down, I know. But the bits and pieces you have published on Facebook, you've shared some of the stories. And I've noticed there are no direct references to God. And so you're kind of answering that question, but let me just ask it outright. Why are there no direct references to God in your book?
Well, first of all, you're wrong. There are.
Oh, good.
With God, I mentioned,
but good.
But yeah, I
can cut that out.
when you say something like, like the Aaronic blessing, the Lord bless you and keep you. Okay, and we know it's coming from the Jewish tradition, and the Lord means God.
Yes.
No one talking about Jesus back then. So God bless you and keep you. Well, God is a really big word, and people have all sorts of takes on what God might be. Now, I think it's a word worth exploring, and there's one of the poems called about God's verbs, and
God's verbs.
Yeah, blessed be God's verbs. And just read you a verse, give you some idea. Blessed be God's verbs, and sorry, I'll go down to the second verse. May the verbs of God to love, include, and care be our guide and goal in this time of fear. May the verbs of God grow like well-watered tomatoes, juicy, sumptuous, satisfying, ready to be shared. So it's talking about, it's like that notion that God's hands are our hands. This kind of, and God is kind of a doing word. Doing is in helping, enabling, empowering. There's another one when I said sometimes they use the small g for God, and that's kind of deliberate. A friend challenged me a few years ago and kind of said, well, if you're talking about world religions and compare it with soccer teams, it's like your team, Manchester United, always got to be in capital letters and everybody else in small letters. Why don't and really saying, okay, you, Faith, might believe a bunch of things about God, but how about being a little bit humble and just recognizing that actually we might not know fully what God's about until we're dead, and maybe not even then. Let's just walk humbly with that word God, and be real careful how we use it too. And so I can talk about God without using the word God. And sometimes I deliberately use the word love, sometimes with a capital L, to talk about, what I mean by God, because I think the way of Jesus pointed to love being the chief characteristic of God. Love being compassion, that arahanui, the big, expansive kind of love, that being the chief characteristic of God. So I'm very happy to insert that word love when it carries that bigger definition, not a kind of romantic,
Yes.
I mean, it gets
Well, I'm
deep.
glad I asked the question because, those are some of the things that you hear. And I'm glad you clarified that. And that's actually pretty cool, the way that you answered that. What I was wondering, you're putting this book together, and when you first started writing these things, you probably didn't have in your head, one day I'm going to put this into a book. So what's been the most challenging aspect about this book? I mean, putting it together, was it writing it? Was it publishing it? Was it launching it? What's been the biggest challenge?
Probably punctuation. Because in poetry, you see, there aren't any rules anymore. But, there's kind of like, what do your audience expect? And how to use a semicolon compared, or do you use a dash? And like all that fine stuff takes.
Oh, that's funny.
But no, it's been a joy with these things. And I should say, like these poems, blessings, like I expect ministers, if they buy this book, to insert like the word God or other words, like use them, manipulate them to express what you want to express. Don't be tied to my language. And like I was, I'll give you a heads up. I'm saying a blessing for our intern who's leaving this coming Sunday, and I was thinking of just just find the one I was thinking of using. Okay, so this one, like to say, Fatmanu, that's his name. May the blessing of stretching your soul out from the strictures of urban demand on a clear, chilly morning, watching the sun begin to rub warmth into the world, be yours. The next verses, may the blessing of the gentle brook and blessing of the alluring hills, blessing of new beginnings. And I'd use his name at the beginning of each verse as sort of to personalize it. And you notice like in this one, I use the word korawai, the Māori word for cloak. You'll see a translation because this is, printed gone over Australia as well. So I've translated all the Māori words in it. But that's kind of, like personalize, use if it makes sense for you, then.
Oh, that's brilliant. Could you show us the cover of the book? I see you almost had it up on the screen there. There we are.
Yeah.
And, that's brilliant. And the photo, did you choose that or the publishers choose that?
Well, we chose it, but I didn't. I don't know where it is, but it looks very Antipodean. It looks very Kiwi. Could probably be on the east coast of Australia too. I chose the photos inside the book. In fact, my daughter features and our cat and dog feature, and
neat.
And this lovely photo here, can you see it of the grandfather with the
Oh,
grandkids?
yes.
Well, he's a parishioner. He's a lovely guy. And I thought, well, of all the grandfathers I know in this church, so I went to Alan and he consoled with his grandkids and his kids about, all the copyright stuff, So,
Oh, my
and
goodness.
then Heather Chapman, that's Mark Chapman's wife. She allowed me to use one of her photos. She's a bit of an amateur photographer.
Oh,
And a
neat.
few other people, So you ask
Oh,
around
that's neat.
together, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what's been the biggest blessing for you in publishing? Is this the first time you actually published a book?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's been the biggest blessing about it?
Well, it's a bit of a buzz.
Yeah.
You don't get that many buzzes in life, but
Yeah.
it's a bit of a buzz, like to actually hold something in your hand.
Yes.
It's kind of like, I don't know, it's a bit of a buzz.
Oh, that's neat.
And yeah.
Well, what's your favorite chapter of the book now that you've published it?
Yeah. You got these tricky ones. Well, I was thinking about that, and let's see if I can find it first. Oh yeah, there it is. Okay. Hey, I tell you, look, if you can't get a hold of one,
Yes.
and you live anywhere or you're driving past my place, I'll put one in the letterbox and give you my account and you put money. Because I got
Okay.
a box of them out of my bed. but it takes a while. The main is Pleroma, Pleroma. They're a Christian supplier based in Hawke's Bay, and they've got the contract with Coventry. So you look at order at pleroma.org.nz is how you order online. But it costs you $6 for postage. So get out of my letterbox.
Yeah, that's free.
It might take you $6 here from Papatoe to my place and back in gas. But yeah. So this one, I like this one because it's a bit theological.
Yes.
And then there's some writing I like that says, love, the kind of Jesus type love, doesn't kind of have a reason. It's not like it needs, it just is, like so it isn't because you want to please God or please your mother or please the parishioners, and it isn't for any reward or profit or for your own self-benefit. I mean, all those things, yeah, they might happen but actually you just love because you love. So this is, blessed are those who love without why. Love doesn't need a reason. And if it did, is it love? Blessed are those who live without why. No reason, just living for the joy of it, appreciative, content. Blessed are those who work without why. Making, creating, is just what they do, like a rose blooming. Blessed are we when we're in our true home, in compassion, in the love that doesn't need a reason, but is the healing of the world.
Wow. That's powerful. I like that. Why? Oh, that's good. Good way to wrap this up, actually. And so could you just review again, how do we get this book?
Pleroma, Pleroma.
Okay.
And it's order at pleroma.org.nz. And you just Pleroma into the Google and you'll find a Christian bookshop in the Hawke's Bay, and they supply, they're main Catholic suppliers throughout the country. And
oh, excellent. Oh, well, Glynn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. And that was wonderful to hear your testimony, really, behind the book. What a blessing, a book of blessings.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. And the Lord bless you as you continue your ministry there in St. Luke's.
Thank you, Timothy. Bless you and bless the people of St. John's.
Thank you.